Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, we're looking at the updated depth charts for the Houston Texans after the 2024 NFL Draft. Who's starting? Who's riding the pine? I'll tell you my thoughts and my predictions before OTAs, before rookie minicamp, and all of the good off-season stuff we got in store for you. But we are so close, Texans fans. We are so close to 14,000 subscribers. We are 14 subs away, and I told my bosses we're getting that on today's show. So if you haven't already, go down and hit that sub button for daily Texans news and rumors videos. 14 subs away from 14K. I remember whenever this channel was at 2K. So I really appreciate everybody who's joined in along the journey, everybody who's hit that subscribe button and supported the channel along the way. Y'all are all real ones. Appreciate you. Let's get to 14K and infinity and beyond. So let's get into these depth charts. First up, maybe the easiest one, the quarterback depth chart. Maybe easy one if you think that Davis Mills is the QB2, which I really do. I think it's going to be C.J. Stroud, Davis Mills, Case Keenum still on the team as the QB3. And I really think, especially after last year and seeing how it unfolded with C.J. Stroud getting injured at towards the end of last season, I think Davis Mills is the guy who you want as the QB2. I know Case Keenum came in. He won a big game against the Titans, an absolute must-win. But then the next week against the Browns, it was maybe one of the most pitiful performances I saw from this team all of last year. So if I'm going with the quarterback 2 going into next year, if anything happens, I think that's Davis Mills. Now going on to the running back depth chart, Joe Mixon RB1, Dameon Pierce I still believe is the RB2, Andrew Beck at the fullback position, even though he has some challenge right there with Hairston. But the biggest challenge for me is how much run will Dameon Pierce got? I mean, he got beat out last year by Devin Singletary, who ended up signing with the Giants this offseason. How much run will he get? I know the Texans didn't draft a running back until late in the 2024 NFL Draft, but Jawar Jordan is pretty electric. I mean, over 1,000 yards last season for Louisville. I think he can possibly make some noise. Dameon Pierce, I know that rookie year showed us a ton. The second year, not so much. Can he bounce back in year 3? We'll have to see. I hope so. I love his running style, even though I think he does run into tacklers too much. He loves contact too much. He'd rather run somebody over for 3 yards than run into an open space for 5 yards. But Dameon Pierce, I really hope he can pick it back up this season. Quick question for you folks at home. Who do you think gets more yards this season? Do you think it's DP, Dameon Pierce, or JJ, Jawar Jordan? Let me know down in the comment section who you think gets more yards this season as we get into the wide receiver depth chart, which, I mean, maybe the most beautiful depth chart on the team, right? Stefon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, you're 1, 2, and 3. Don't know who the 4th and 5th guys are going to be yet. Do they keep the old man Robert Woods, or do they go with the youth in John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson? Noah Brown re-signed this offseason to a 1-year deal, so he kind of throws a wrench in that. I don't know if the Texans keep 5 or 6 receivers, but all you need to know is the top 3. Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Stefon Diggs. It should be a show this season in the wide receiver room. I really think these 3 guys, the combination of these 3 are really going to light the league on fire, and I hope we see the ascension of Tank Dell and Nico Collins going into this season. And Stefon Diggs, I hope he can keep it up from where he's been the past couple of seasons. Now, the tight end depth chart, and some people might disagree with me, but I'm going Cade Stover at tight end too. Dalton Schultz is your obvious starter. You re-signed him this offseason. Brevin Jordan in the last year of his contract, but really, I said it during the draft. I mean, happy wife, happy life, happy Stroud, happy crowd. And that's what you did with this pick right here of Cade Stover. You brought in his best friend, one of his best buddies. I'm not going to say best friend. Maybe that's a little bit too far. Maybe not a best friend, but he's a good friend of C.J. Stroud. And if you don't think that the chemistry is already there between these two and he's going to already have a leg up on some of the other guys, I know Brevin Jordan played with C.J. Stroud last year, but I mean, these two connected a ton in college. I could see Cade Stover coming in and being the tight end 2 next season. That's not saying Brevin Jordan's not going to get any run at all, but I do think Cade Stover is going to maybe chip into those plays that Brevin Jordan would be getting if he wasn't around. Now, maybe into the most controversial depth charts that I'll have on today's show, the offensive line depth charts. And I have 3 of them for you because I don't know how this Texans team is going to run their offensive line out at the start of next season. Tytus Howard Could he play right tackle? In this depth chart, I have him playing right tackle, Juice Scruggs playing left guard, Jarrett Patterson playing center. The only two that you'll see the constants that I'm 100% sure that's where they're going to be is Laremy Tunsil at left tackle and Shaq Mason at right guard. The other three spots, I could see all these different combinations, like this one. I could see possibly Kenyon Green even starting at left guard, Juice Scruggs starting at center. I know some people are saying, hey, if Juice Scruggs is center, maybe you can push over Jarrett Patterson to guard. I think he's a better center than he is at guard. I think if you're going with Juice Scruggs at guard, you might go with Kenyon Green at left guard. Or the one that I think ends up happening is I think they move Tytus Howard to left guard. I know everybody thinks that he is an absolute scrub at the guard position, but he's played there almost half of his career in the NFL. They drafted Blake Fisher in round 2, somebody who's played tackle all of his seasons at Notre Dame. I think he's a better tackle than he is a guard. So with this drafting of Blake Fisher, and I don't think they drafted somebody in round 2 to be like, oh, you know what, we're going to have you sit for a couple of years. I know that happens with quarterbacks quite a bit, but with other positions, it's pretty uncommon to say, hey, we're going to draft you in round 2 and have you sit a couple of years at the right tackle spot or at an offensive line position. So this is the one that I think ends up happening, even though I know half of the people who are watching this video probably are slamming their keyboards like one of my old coworkers because they really hate this offensive line. I think this is what ends up happening. So you might think I'm stupid. You might think I'm wrong. Go down in the comment section and let me know, what's your starting 5 offensive linemen for the Texans going into next season? Is it one of the ones that I did? Is it a different combination altogether? Let me know your starting 5 offensive linemen for the Texans going into next season. Now, coming up, I have the defensive depth charts for the Houston Texans. A couple of interesting moves on that one as well. But before we get into that, the Texans, they dropped their new jerseys, and they also dropped a new logo. This brand new H-Town logo, which I absolutely love. I was getting clowned in the office when the jersey or when the helmet leaks came out. Everybody's saying, these are crap. Well, looking at them now, they're pretty freaking fresh. And you can get the brand new hats today when you go to chatsports.com/Texans hats. They have all the new designs, all the new colorways, all the new hats available for you right now. Maybe go a little window shopping, see what hats are available. A couple are on sale and almost gone, like this Salute to Service hat right here, which I don't mind at all during the summertime. Maybe a little outdoor, maybe your little four-wheel in action. Pretty good. This one's on sale right now, 50% off. You can check out all the hats and all the prices if you go to chatsports.com/Texans hats right now. I'll put that link in the comment section and the description of today's video. One more time, it is chatsports.com/Texans hats. Now going to the defensive side of the football, one of the biggest overhauls for the Texans this offseason was the defensive line. 3 new starters, all signed in free agency. And I was surprised that they didn't go defensive line earlier in the draft. They ended up going corner, offensive line, and then safety, and then obviously tight end with that 4th selection. And I was really surprised because I thought they were going to beef up this interior defensive line, but the Texans, in my opinion, are really banking on Denico Autry holding down the middle of that defense. Last season with the Titans, 50 tackles, 11.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. He is a really good interior defensive lineman. Really hoping that he steps up this year for the Texans because they signed him. They signed Foley Fatukasi. I think they're really banking on big years from both of those signings. We'll have to see if it pans out for Caserio and DeMeco Ryans this upcoming season. Next up, we have the linebacker depth charts where they signed Azeez Al-Shaair to be that guy in the middle. Henry To'oTo'o, I believe, gets the start at the Sam linebacker position. If not, maybe Del'Shawn Phillips or Jacob Phillips, who they signed from the Cleveland Browns this offseason. But the biggest guy who I think they're really banking on for the linebacker position is Christian Harris. A big year could be coming for Harris. I was saying all of last season, for the first half of the year, I was like, Blake Cashman's this dude. Blake Cashman's the guy. We need to re-sign Blake Cashman. Second half of the year, Christian Harris was the best linebacker in this linebacking room by far, bar none. I think Christian Harris is going to explode onto the scene this season and be one of the best defenders that the Texans have on this team. I really love what he did towards the end of last year. I mean, we see the clips of him with DeMeco Ryans during the Cleveland Browns playoff game where DeMeco was like, hey, Joe Flacco is going to throw this short right here. You just got to listen to me. You got to trust me. Christian Harris put all his trust in DeMeco Ryans, and what happened? He got a pick six on that next drive. I really think having a guy like DeMeco Ryans, who was a great linebacker in the league for many years, is really going to help develop Christian Harris along the way. 101 tackles, 2 sacks, 7 tackles for loss last season for Harris. I think he's going to come on big for the Houston Texans defense this season. Now, going on to the cornerback depth chart, where I've been going back and forth with a couple of you in the comment section about where Kamari Lassiter plays. Does he play in the nickel or does he play outside? I think he can play either or. I think he plays better in the nickel, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if he ended up being the outside corner opposite of Derek Stingley. I really want to see how he plays in the preseason, in OTAs, in rookie minicamp, and how he fares against some of these Texans wide receivers, because it's going to be a good test for Lassiter going up against guys like Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Stefon Diggs in practice to really see what Lassiter has and if he's able to go on the opposite side of Derek Stingley. Last season, 0 interceptions, but something interesting as well, did not allow a single touchdown in 2023 for the Georgia Bulldogs, one of the best defenses in college football. Even though I know he ran in the 4.5s in his pro day and ran a 4.6 something during the NFL Combine. But at the end of the day, that's just one run that he did. If you look at his overall tape, if you look at his overall work at what he did at Georgia, it's a much bigger picture. It's a much better picture of what he can be in the National Football League. We've seen guys before who didn't necessarily run good at the Combine and turned into great cornerbacks, a la one Richard Sherman, Xavier Howard. Both ran in the late 4.5s. Both are amazing cornerbacks. So I'm not out on Lassiter. I gave it a B+ whenever the Texans drafted Lassiter. I think he'll be good. I just don't know if year one he plays on the outside or on the inside. What say you, though? Do you think he'll play outside, or do you think he'll play in the slot? Let me know down in the comment section. Type O for outside, type S for slot. Where do you think Lassiter plays on this Texans defense going into next season? Now, going on to the Texans safety depth chart, I think it's pretty plain and simple. You got Jimmie Ward, Jalen Pitre, and Kalen Bullock. Now, in base sets, which most defenses run nickel and dime packages for most of the time on the defensive side of the football, because offenses nowadays love to spread it out. So you can see all three of these guys playing alongside each other, but I think Kalen Bullock was an amazing add for the Texans in round 3. A good ball-hawking safety, and he does good what your other safeties are not good at. He is good on the back end and tracking down balls, getting PBUs, getting interceptions on deep passes. That's not what Jalen Pitre and Jimmie Ward do best. They're better playing inside the box, in stopping the run, getting those underneath routes taken care of. Over the top, Jalen Pitre, Jimmie Ward, that's where they struggled. That's where Bullock's going to come in and really help this Texans defense in 2024. Finally, let's go to the special teams. Special teams, special plays. Say it with me now. Special players. There we go. And Kaimi Fairbairn, really hope he's able to stay healthy this year for the Texans. One of the best kickers in the NFL, in my opinion. I really like the addition of Tommy Townsend, especially because maybe selfishly, he's been involved a lot in Kansas City with a lot of their, more unique play calling, their unique play style, where he's had a couple of trick plays up his sleeves. He's not too bad at throwing the football as well. Tommy Townsend as the punter, our Lord and Savior John Weeks on his, I believe, his 50th year with the Houston Texans. Still going strong at the long snappers position. And then punt returner, kick returner was interesting. I think they try to work John Mechie in on punt return this year. If not, Desmond King has been pretty good at that as well. And then kick return, Dameon Pierce came on at the end of last year and was really good. Also look out for, same nipping at his bud on the running back depth chart and on the special teams depth chart is Jawar Jordan, who was the kick returner for Louisville last year. Got a couple touchdowns. Pretty good himself. Now, those are the updated depth charts. If you want to hit me up if you have any questions, you can always do so on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Jeremy Chuggs. I am always available. You can slide on in to those DMs. And as always, we are 14 subscribers away from 14,000 subscribers. So if you want to join the most interactive, fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube, now's the time to do so. This is where the real ones subscribe, the off season. Now, it's easy to subscribe in week 2. It's easy to subscribe in week 3, but if you are a diehard, if you love the Houston Texans, now is the time to prove it. Go down and hit that sub button.